Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Let's do it.
I know this is something that...
Elephant in the room. What is that, another fat joke there, Adam? Get it from both sides now? Go ahead.
You know, listen, it's not a fun subject, but the job is to talk about what's actually happening. And I don't know if you realize how close you are to losing the season right now.
Yeah, we're talking about the playoffs. The Stanley Cup being awarded this year, in my opinion, is up in the air.
If we were putting odds on it, the odds would not be good.
And Steve, that's media hysteria, and that's ridiculous. And you got to wake up.
Yeah,
you got to wake up.
And it's not because, and again, people always go to the extreme on this one. Will I die? Well, if you're under the age of 40, 50, 60, what do they say? People 60 and over with diminished immune systems are the ones that tend to. It's not really about that.
Yeah.
Well, there was a guy on Twitter today, like, I have cancer. What am I supposed to do?
Exactly.
You know? Like,
exactly.
That's the extreme, but yes.
Yes.
It's not about, I hate to pull your head out of your ass.
Yeah.
It isn't about you.
Wait, you don't know any old people? Any?
You don't have parents?
You don't
never
work
loved
with any? You don't have parents, grandparents?
Even if you don't have any in your family, you don't know
ride
any.
the subway, you psychopath?
Even if for some reason you don't know any old people, you know old people.
Yes. Or you might touch something that an old person
I have a
would touch.
question. They're people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So their health and your compassion would still exist, right?
Yes.
So this is the thing.
How about I'm about to turn 32, I'm perfectly healthy, I don't want to get sick.
Fair. That's fair.
Don't fuck up my next 2 weeks, please.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, for a lot of people, the symptoms aren't pleasant.
No.
Even like even just the flu sucks. Now, the thing is that you have to look at it like this, okay? There's no other way that you can look at this if you're the NHL. What is Gary Bettman's job? What's his vocation? Not his title, his vocation. What's he trained to be?
A lawyer.
What are lawyers?
Litigious.
And conservative,
And
right?
conservative.
They have to be.
Yeah.
They have to look out for the worst possible situation. That's a lawyer's job.
Yeah. You're not talking about politically conservative. You're
No,
talking about
no, like in terms of like
worst
it's
case scenario planning.
Should we speed or should we not speed? Well, we shouldn't because we might get caught. That's what a lawyer would tell you. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? So in this particular situation, even though they're not saying it publicly, all major leagues, not just the NHL, have to look at it like this. So you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. And God forbid somebody on the team contracts this virus. Okay?
Which is totally
Totally
not out of the
possible.
realm of possibility.
Totally
Sure.
possible.
The team was decimated by the flu or something just a few weeks ago.
So here's what happens. Not only does that player and their family then go into quarantine for 2 weeks, so does the coach, so do the trainers, and so does every other player on the team.
And the team they played, and maybe the team they played a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
It's just, the league's done.
Even if you don't do that, even if you're like, oh, well, we'll ignore it and hopefully, it'll go away. You've pulled one of 31 teams out of the league. You can't continue the league.
Right.
You cannot actually continue without all the teams being able to play. And if all the teams are not able to play, then you can't have a playoffs and you can't have a Stanley Cup. Guys, it takes one player and the league is shut down. That's all it's going to take.
Yeah.
And especially with the NHL where your job is to live in your own sweat for 3 straight hours.
And travel on planes.
To
different cities.
This is... It may not directly affect you. You may never get this. But to talk about, like, I look at what Columbus did yesterday. The governor of Ohio came out and said, I wouldn't recommend gatherings over 1,000 people. And even that, I'm like, that's liberal. The Columbus Blue Jackets said, no, we're still going to do this.
The Ohio State governor is signing an executive order banning gatherings of 1,000 or more.
So
they're gonna,
when is that news? Like,
literally
this
just
updates
happened?
every 10 minutes.
So he signed the executive order so they can stop people from going to the NCAA tournaments, the March
Holy
Madness tournaments that
shit.
are supposed to be held in Ohio.
So-
Here's how
hold on.
fast this has changed. Oh,
no, go.
Well,
And
I was about to say 2 hockey leagues have been canceled. Wrong.
Yeah, the Australian and German.
Wrong.
Or Austrian and German, excuse
So
me.
this is from Zisman. This boy
Sounds Swiss.
Smemberg. Anyway, Slovan Bratislava, formerly of the KHL, announces that the Slovak clubs of the top Tipsport Liga have decided to cancel the remainder of the 2019-2020 season. This means that 5 countries so far have canceled their hockey season. Austria, Germany, Poland, Norway, and Slovakia. And you might say to yourself, well, I don't give a shit about any of those leagues. Your team is probably going to look at drafting players out of at least 2 of them. And also, that's insane.
Beyond that,
And there's probably listeners from those countries.
Beyond that, there are people with that would make the argument, and
there's a lot of North Americans who play for them.
Right.
Sorry.
And there are people that make the argument that, well, wait a second. I mean, it's a heck of a lot more intense in Europe, specifically countries like Italy, which are right across the Alps from Austria and Germany and whatever. Yes, but that's because that's right now. If you look at what's happening in New York right now, Governor Cuomo's already declared a state of emergency.
Have none of you watched the movie?
Well, and beyond that, no, it's not everybody. There's like 3 people in our mentions who are like, you guys this is phony and bullshit and whatever.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. One player, any of these leagues, they're done.
Yeah.
One player. And, the NBA today, it was leaked that Adam Silver and the other owners are looking at, well, can we move games to cities that are not affected?
Tomorrow, the Warriors are playing without fans. That came down around 2 p.m.
Because San Jose is also now doing that too.
That's going to be the first one. It's going to be fun to watch.
I'm kind of excited to see it.
It's going to be the wildest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they've shut down all Italian Premier League soccer, all of it. Guys,
so Italy's been rammed by it.
Yeah,
Italy's done as a country. Like
they've locked it down. Now the reason the reason Italy is because of Italy's always been for thousands of years a main shipping hub. Mm-hmm. So you're always going to have a cross section of people. Like actually, when the Black Plague came to Europe in the 12 or 1300s, it came on a Turkish ship to Italy first.
Oh, is that?
And it made its way up over the course of like a couple years to the rest of like Northern Europe and Eastern Europe and that sort of thing.
Is that just the tale that's told?
Well,
I guess we'll never know.
No, that's what they actually had reports on it because what happened was the ship showed up and there was one person still left alive. And that was recorded.
The SSC play.
No, it wouldn't have been that. But it was a ship that came. It was either Turkey or Africa. But essentially, what happened was it was a grain ship, and back then Africa supplied a lot of the grain. And so Northern Africa
died on the journey?
They died on and there's stories of from that time ghost ships just washing ashore and everybody dead. Now that is the Black Plague.
Yeah,
that is not
very different.
Coronavirus. But if you think of it like you're Gary Bettman for just a second, okay? You have 18,000 people in every arena, varying ticket sales or whatever. Can you rightly, in your mind, incur the risk as a lawyer that somebody contracts coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, at your game? Can you incur that risk? Because here's what you're saying. When you throw those games, you are saying to the general public, these are safe. When you have these games, the reason they have security is they're trying to guarantee your safety.
And it becomes, again, I'm not a lawyer, but it becomes hairier when you have certain things like the governor saying, please don't do this. And then you do it anyway. And then it gets sick or people get sick. So you were saying the shipping hub. The story I had heard is something about skiing trips. And a few people got it on a skiing trip, and they come back to Italy from the skiing trip.
But Italy's a sub. It's just what it is. It's a central hub in Europe.
Like what's coming up, March break and spring break and all that. Like fuck, one person at some thing or other in Florida gets it. Thousands of people from God knows where then travel back home, and I don't need to tell you what's next.
Right, that's the key. It's not, and it's if the NHL, if the job of the NHL for fans is to guarantee their safety and to want I don't know if you can guarantee somebody's safety, but they put protective nettings up so pucks won't go into the crowd.
Yep.
They have security there and they have metal detectors so people can't bring guns and weapons in. There's a reason they have all those things in play because they want to keep the people safe.
Yes.
And if somebody gets it and they turn around to a lawyer and say they didn't make sure I was safe, they held this event. Guess who's liable? And the NHL could have multiple cities having class action lawsuits against them if they don't take action on this.
You're gonna laugh It's totally possible.
100% conceivable.
Totally possible.
Listen, somebody sued McDonald's for coffee that was too hot and they won. All right? So if you think this is nuts, that happened. That's real. So,
She did have like third-degree burns.
but it happened.
Yeah.
Coffee's hot.
Yeah.
I
I saw a tweet about that recently, and they were like, "This is one of the
It's a bit of a
worst
misnomer.
case of misinformation." Because
If you read the whole
It's a bad
story, it's
example.
actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, and she, by the way, she 100% deserved it.
Yeah.
I've read the story. I know. I'm just saying.
it's incredible.
But the point I'm trying to make here is that it's a legitimate argument that can be made and will win in court, and that's where the NHL's motivation's got to be. It's protecting the money. Now, there are owners in this league, and I would imagine Columbus is one of them, saying we cannot lose this revenue, which is why they're so brash about the fact that no, we're going to still host the games. It's still going to be normal. These teams, a lot of them, are just getting by the skin of their teeth. But when it comes down to it, public safety is going to come first. And do not be surprised. Look at what's happened over just the last 7 days. Look at what's happened in the world, how much the cases have grown,
From the
how they
time I
doubled
woke up
and
this
tripled.
morning.
Yeah. This is going to get, and I work in a building, thankfully, Jesse, same. We work in a building with a lot of smart people in news. And I went and talked to them, a couple of them today, and I said, listen, what are your thoughts on this? You know, you've read the reports, you've gone through all this. These are real journalists. And they said, gonna get worse before it gets better. And if you're one of these people that's still not bothered, you probably listen to Joe Rogan.
No, you're not.
And the person who we had on last night said it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I guess you saw it too.
I
right?
did, yeah.
That scared the shit out of me.
The who we had on is fascinating, very smart.
Yeah, and again, Rogan's a bit of a minefield because he has on brilliant people and chuckle fucks.
But I think that's his brand, right?
Yeah, but this guy was like, no.
Yeah,
this is
he
bad.
was saying how they have the ability to track viruses like dinosaur bones, kind of, or like the rings on a tree. So they're able to pinpoint when it made its first transfer from animal to human. They're saying it was around mid-November. So if you think about, they're able to just go back and see, okay, it happened like this week-ish last year in 2019. And
that's not that long ago.
No, that's like what, 4 months, 5 months? And now it's worldwide.
So this
is a great listen.
So this is where we're at. If you're the NHL or if you're a public official, whatever, your job is to be overly cautious. So you can bitch and whine and complain about us being hysterical, about the NHL being, or the NBA or the MLS or whatever league you watch, being too cautious. That is their job. They need to be too cautious. I would much rather them be too cautious than not at all.